Welcome to Relay.
Hello, we're here.
Hi.
We're gonna try this out, and
I like the title. Relay Space News Year.
it's a news year.
Yeah.
It's new. It's the news year.
I like it.
So, the announcement in Discord and I think on Twitter said, we didn't have time to finish the I actually do anything. Nakara didn't have time to quite finish the Apollo roundup, largely because I don't do anything to help.
You're busy writing novels and short stories and
I'm
every
trying.
other bloody thing.
I'm trying.
But yeah, I apologize for that. We weren't able to get together to the Apollo thing yet.
But we will.
It will come very soon. But there has been a landslide of news.
I wouldn't call it a landslide.
Tsunami.
Maybe a rocket launch of news. A moon landing of news. No, not quite.
A moon landing.
A meteor shower of news.
A Kuiper Belt flyby of news.
Yes, Kuiper Belt. Yeah, I like that one. Nice,
God.
Des. I like it.
I forgot to grab a link.
So yeah, there has been quite a bit of just general space news in the weeks we've been off, and so I guess tonight we're just gonna sort of, announce that we're live. We did just do a tweet. That happened. And we are recording, so that's cool. We're just gonna, chat a little bit about the news. No, Des, I'm actually perfectly happy if it's just you hanging out. This isn't for viewers. This is just for us. Really?
Yeah, we're just having fun.
Yeah. That's what everything you do in life should be fun. Have fun with it.
Well, I definitely agree with that.
You only have one. Make it a fun.
Yeah, sorry, just a minute. There's
Grab
one
stuff.
link I forgot to grab.
Yeah, no worries. I think. No, don't leave, Sid Vicious. Okay, so.
Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving?
Because I said we only want Des here.
Oh,
Which.
well, that's not.
No, it's okay.
Well,
We like everyone. So last year, actually, the last couple of years have been pretty darn good for space.
Yes, they have.
And I think last year had a lot of good stuff. Just the stupid amount of Falcon everything. Just
Falcon
space,
everything.
Just the Falcon everything. Really, last year was just okay. That's all the news of the year.
There's lots of news, but a lot of it was Falcon related.
Stay a while and listen. No, but there was other stuff too. Missions launched and probes landed and comets photographed and Chernighenko. Are you buffering? I have not dropped a single frame yet today, so it's not on my end currently.
Everything looks good here on Twitch.
Sorry, Sid.
I'm sorry, Sid. That was quite well timed.
It was excellent.
So,
But I think that last year's really some pretty cool stuff happening is just going to carry over into I'm thinking a ridiculous 2019. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That sounds about right.
like what is there anything you can think of that is not like immediate future, but like long term this year that we're expecting? That's just, I mean, we're going to talk about one of them.
First human spaceflight from U.S. soil in 8 years. That's a big one.
That's significant.
What else is coming this year? Well, Starship is going to be hopping, and possibly, probably not, but possibly even more than hopping. What else happens this year? The funny thing is, a couple of the biggest things in 2019 base have already happened in the first 3 weeks of the year.
It's been a pretty incredible couple weeks. So
there are definitely other things, but I'm just not remembering at the moment. Filled my brain up too much with this stuff.
It's okay. Shall we hop into it and talk a little bit about the Starship?
Yep, I'm good now. All of our links are in there now. All right, so we're going to start off with Starship. For those of you who don't know, SpaceX's BFR architecture has had its name changed. The top part, which is the spaceship, is called Starship. I personally believe very strongly that this is because they'll probably name each individual starship, so they'll have like Starship
D.
Eris.
I mean, they're gonna have to start like. So far, their reference names have actually been pretty good, and I hope that they keep up with that.
Apparently, Elon still has his heart set on naming the first one to go to Mars, Heart of Gold.
Fantastic.
So that'll be great. So that'll be Starship Heart of Gold.
That would be great.
So this is really the big news lately with Starship, though. It is the spaceship part, and what you see on screen right now is a hopper version of Starship that they are building in Boca Chica, Texas. Boca Chica is actually me and Desmarius went and visited Boca Chica in October when we were in Texas for CitizenCon. And none of this stuff was there. That's actually one of the things that's been amazing. The tent, the hopper, all of that stuff there was not there in October. It's all arrived there since about the middle of November. Most of the Starship construction, like the hopper construction, took place over only about a month in December. So what this will do, one of the reasons they're building it outside is it's huge and it's hard to build inside. Secondly, it's because it doesn't need to go to orbit and it doesn't, it's not going to space, so it's not as important that it be perfect. This one will be used as a hopper, so it will just go up and down. I think its maximum altitude is 5 kilometers, and it will be used to test the brand new engines, which are the Raptor engines. And those are the methane fueled engines, and will power the whole vehicle on its way to Mars in the future. So this actually, what you can see right now on here is basically looking towards the town and some of the antennas. And we're going to switch videos here to the launch site.
I'm just switching through the videos and remembering, how to do one of these things.
Didn't switch, or maybe I screwed up the link. Just a minute. Let me figure that out.
That's the second one.
Really?
Oh wait, maybe it's not. 1 second. Maybe I'm just dumb. No, it was.
Those are different links.
I'm just going to the third one. Haha.
Really weird. Okay, just a moment. I think I labeled them wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I did label them wrong. So go to the third one, then the second one.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the launch site as it currently stands. It looks pretty dirtish right now. But actually, quite a lot has taken place there since we were there in October. First of all, those 2 giant fuel tanks on the left are brand new. They only arrived there like last week in terms of actually being installed. And also, they really have done a lot of earth moving here. I would expect, given that SpaceX has said they would like to start hopping the little hopper there, not so little hopper, in February or March, I would expect to see them actually pour the concrete pad here in the next couple of weeks. Exactly where it's going to go amongst all this, we're not sure, but somewhere.
Now, is it like they're building a complete pad of their own for this, right?
Well, the first pad will probably just be, very much just be like a concrete slab.
Right.
But Boca Chica will be a full launch site as they build it up. And it will be one of the launch sites for the full Super Heavy plus Starship architecture.
Okay.
Now, one of the really cool things that happened today, I got to talk about, is Elon Musk did an interview with Popular Mechanics. And they talked about, well, one of the big things here is you may all remember that looks like a really shiny Starship, and it wasn't always shiny.
Yeah.
Sometime late last year, they decided to change course and change the design of Starship from a composite design to a stainless steel design. Now, that probably sounds really weird. There hasn't been a stainless steel rocket since the early 1950s. I think one of the first Atlas rockets was stainless steel. And even those had lots of problems because of the way they were built. However, there are good reasons to use stainless steel, especially in really large rockets like this. Although it took a bit of, Elon explaining to actually make most of us understand why. So basically, the reason to switch to stainless steel is comes down to a couple things. First of all, it is cheaper, a lot cheaper. Secondly, it is very well understood as a material. Thirdly, its heat tolerance is much greater than composite or aluminum. And there was another reason that I totally forgot. And because stainless steel is actually specific types of stainless steel that they're going to be using actually get stronger as they get colder. Which isn't true for all steel, but is true for chrome nickel rich stainless steel. And of course, SpaceX uses cryogenic propellants, so they'll be getting really, really cold. So part of this was why switch to stainless steel when you'd done all this development on the composite. Well, one of the problems they were having was how do you make a heat shield for something that big that is easily reusable? That you don't have to replace every time like you did with the shuttle, right?
Yeah.
Shuttle had huge amounts of downtime and enormous millions of man hours just trying to get it flying again, because they had to inspect or replace every heat shield tile. So They basically went, hey, stainless steel can withstand temperatures of 1500 degrees Fahrenheit just fine. Whereas with aluminum or composite, you're limited to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit, so you have to protect it down to that level. What they realized with stainless is that since it can survive such high temperatures, you actually don't need a heat shield. What you do is you can liquid cool the side that is entering the atmosphere.
From the propellant that's left?
Yeah, so they'll be using propellant and basically flowing it into or up against the wall of the spacecraft. Now, how they're going to do that? You've all seen double-walled stainless steel like thermoses or coffee cups or things like that.
Yep.
They'll
I
basically
do believe I've actually got one right here.
There you go. Perfect. They're going to be making the side that re-enters the atmosphere double-walled, and then they'll flow the propellant into that space.
I was going to drink this water, but now I see something floating in it. So I'm going to not drink it.
Is it beer floating in it?
No, there's something floating in it. I should probably go clean this thing.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yep. Just thought you all should know. Inquiring minds.
Yeah. So, basically, they'll flow the propellant into the in between that space and the double wall. And probably the coolest thing we learned today is that you float into that space, but it's flowing up against incredibly hot stainless steel, and obviously it's going to vaporize. Now, instead of just letting that pressure build up inside the double wall or pushing it back into the fuel tanks, what they're going to do is perforate the exterior of the ship there. Millions, probably billions of tiny little perforations in the skin. And so the propellant will actually flow out through the skin and create like a protective layer along the craft as it comes in.
So it's going to be perforated.
Yep.
When it goes to space.
Yep.
So I need to dial this back. And so they're going to send a ship to space filled with holes.
Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of like sending a submarine into the ocean that's filled with holes, right?
Yes, sort of.
Okay.
There's one important difference here, though. Because of that double wall,
one goes up, one goes down.
yeah, sure. That's the difference. No, because of the double wall structure, it won't actually be exposed to space. Only what's in that space between the walls will be exposed to space.
Only what's in that space will be exposed to space.
That's right. But basically, what it breaks down to, the best way to think of it is basically when it's re-entering, it's cooling itself down by sweating.
Going to space in a vehicle filled with holes, I don't think it's going to be the only thing in that vehicle sweating.
So we showed you the hopper, a bunch of pictures of the hopper. This is a great render of what we currently believe the full up architecture might look like. We're not 100% sure because we haven't had any updated pictures from SpaceX. But this is some sort of imaginings that I found on Twitter, and I really should credit the artist, but I can't find it again. I will link it in Space Race in our Discord. But so that gives you an idea of what they're currently thinking for Starship. I know it's kind of hard to understand / explain. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
As always, throw us your questions, because
yes, Please do.
That's the only way we answer them. See if they're thrown at us. If you don't throw them, sorry, you lucked out.
You definitely need to throw them. So make sure you put that in there.
Wind up real hard.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like the big news on Starship right now. The other thing I should mention
that's the only thing that's happening in space right now, right? Like, I mean,
No.
we've covered SpaceX, so we're good.
I haven't even really covered SpaceX very much. That was just a tiny bit of what's going on right now. But that is happening.
Yeah.
So the next thing is very interesting. China has achieved a first of for any nation in space. They have landed a lander on the far side of the moon. The lander is called Chang'e 4.
It's there.
Yay! Okay. So I wanted to... this is basically the diagram of the Chang'e 4 mission. So one of the big problems with landing anything on the far side of the moon is how do you communicate with it, right? Because the far side of the moon always points away from Earth. It's very hard.
And I've heard that there are
Earth.
no oceans up there to send letters in bottles.
No, none at all. Despite the name Sea of Tranquility. Anyway, so months before Chang'e 4 launched, China launched the, I'm totally going to butcher this, the Zhijiao relay satellite. And so it's pretty cool. It's orbiting, as you can see there, it has a halo orbit around the Earth-Moon L2 Lagrange point. Basically, it's way out further than the moon, and it orbits wide enough that it can see the far side of the moon and the Earth at the same time. So when signals are sent from the spacecraft on the ground to the relay satellite and back to Earth, it all works properly. The other kind of cool thing about this is it wasn't just a lander. There is also a rover on Chang'e 4. The rover's name is Yutu-2.
Yutu-2.
Yes.
I do like that this is actually the first instance I personally have ever seen of people calling it the far side of the moon rather than the dark side of the moon, and it's very pleasing that it's... Oh, I guess because we can't really call it the dark side of the moon because it's not dark.
Yes, it's not. No one should have ever called it the dark side. Actually, somebody put it really well. Dark Side of the Moon is an album by Pink Floyd.
Yes,
that's it.
That's it. That's it.
Because the far side of the moon isn't actually dark. As you obviously notice, the moon goes through phases. Well, the part of the moon that isn't lit up when you're looking up in the sky is lit up on the other side.
So when there's no moon. Or when it's like
a new moon.
New moon. Yeah, that's the one. Before we continue with the Chang'e 4, just a quick question from the Punisher on what we were talking about before, the perforated skin. Do you think that the perforated skin of the spaceship will cause a drag factor with launch? And do you think that clogging of some of these perforations might be an issue?
Drag, probably not. You're talking tiny holes. They're described as micro perforations. I don't even imagine you'd be able to see them. I don't think it'll cause any drag. The interesting thing with clogging them, in the Popular Mechanics article, one of the things Elon talked about was you could use water or methane. And he later clarified on Twitter that one of the reasons they're not going to use water, and they will probably use fuel, methane instead, is that water has a really nasty tendency to, just based on the physics of evaporation, it could flash freeze right after it comes out of the perforation, even if it's incredibly hot around it, just because of how physics works when things evaporate really quickly. It could freeze and close that perforation for a time. So that's one of the reasons they're not going to use water. So it's definitely something they're thinking about. I Googled a bit today. There has been some research into doing this or doing similar things. And apparently there was some testing that indicated you could get around even failures from like impact damage. Like if you took a micrometeorite hit there, if you designed the cooling system clever enough so that it didn't compromise the whole system by having a bigger hole in it. But yeah, lots of things to figure out. But that is their current thinking, and it's pretty damn cool. It should be noted, this whole stainless steel idea and using, it being resistant to heat and therefore not needing much heat shielding is not really a new idea. Many of the original designs for the space shuttle were steel, but they went away from it later on, and SpaceX is going back there.
Cool. We will return now to the Chang'e 4, which I think we've got there. Look, it's a lander.
Yeah, so that's the Chang'e 4 lander. That picture was actually taken by the rover after they landed. So they basically, the rover drove away and then they took pictures of each other. So that's the base station that will communicate back with Earth, and it also has a few experiments on board, and that is the Yutu-2 rover.
It's kind of cute.
It is kind of cute. A neat little solar powered rover. One of the really cool experiments that Chang'e 4 is going to be doing is a radio science experiment, and that's because, or a radio astronomy experiment, sorry, and that's because being on the far side of the moon, it's blocked from all the radio signals from Earth, so it has a very quiet neighborhood. So it could get unfiltered and uncorrupted radio signals from space, because there's none of the giant chatter that we put out that's interfering with it.
So what you're saying is aliens confirmed.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah.
Cool. Just double checking.
Glad you're confirming with me. So this is kind of hard to see here, but this is panorama image that was taken from the lander. And so you can obviously see the rover there and a couple of craters looking off into the distance. The spot where they landed on the far side of the moon is one of the largest craters on the moon. They believe it was one of the largest impacts that it has suffered. And one of their kind of hopes, they're not sure if they'll be able to achieve this, but one of their hopes is that they might actually be able to sample some material that is like exposed mantle from the part of the core of the moon, because the impact was so large. That would give them a lot of data or a lot of information about sort of the origin of the moon and kind of what its internal structure was like.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I have another question for you.
Yeah, cool.
So this rover slash base station is hanging out there on the far side of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there's a long delay time between hearing back from anything on Mars, 7 minutes, right? I'm assuming that we've got a much faster response time from the Chang'e 4. Is it reduced because it has to talk to the orbiting?
Yes.
So, any idea what it is?
I don't know precise communication times, but I believe the relay satellite's about 1 million kilometers away from the Earth. Actually, I could be wrong there. Just a moment. I'll see if I can find the number here.
Okay. You look for that. I'm going to answer a quick question.
Oh, no. Sorry, I was wrong. Okay, go ahead.
Answer a quick question from the keeper of the Bridge of Death, who asks, what is the quantum speed velocity? Wow, I butchered that one. What is the quantum speed velocity of an unladen space swallow? And the answer, of course, is blue. No, green.
42.
So where are we for the travel time?
Well, I can figure it out in just a few moments here. But honestly, it would be very, very short.
Okay.
Even though they're saying if we had like a surface base on the moon, we could talk at almost real time with them. Now, obviously, this is on the far side, but I thought the relay satellite was further out, but it's only 65,000 from the moon.
Okay.
So I imagine they're talking probably in the order of several seconds, but not even
That's not
remotely
bad at all,
close.
then.
Not even remotely close to a minute.
Cool.
Be pretty quick. All right. So next topic is DM1.
Right there.
So, DM1 returned to the pad today. Now, well, I shouldn't call it DM1. DM1 is the mission. Falcon returned to the pad today with Crew Dragon atop it. And tomorrow, it will be doing a static fire. Now, you've probably heard and seen many fires from SpaceX launches. The importance of this one is that it is the static fire leading up to the DM1 mission, which is the first demonstration mission of Crew Dragon. This is not the crewed mission. This is the uncrewed mission, which they have to have before they put people on it. But yeah, so we're just yet another sign of progress as we're moving along. Also of note, you'll remember way back in 2016, so like 2.5 years ago now, the Falcon 9 suffered a catastrophic explosion during the preparation for a static fire.
Yep.
This will be the first time since then that they will static fire the rocket with the payload on top. They've done hundreds of static fires. It shouldn't matter, but it is worth noting. This is the first time they've once again trusted their... And I mean, I guess they're really trusting it. They really need to not blow up their own spacecraft.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Do you know
yeah.
what time is that going to be at?
the static fire?
Yeah.
That's really hard to tell. Their windows are usually like 8 hours long.
Okay.
And they kind of do it. They don't really tell us when they're going to do it in the 8 hour window.
Is there an idea of how long after static fire for an actual launch?
Okay, so currently the thinking is that it was... the belief is that it was February 9th for the launch date. Now there seems to be rumblings that it's more like a week later than that. Okay. So into mid-February. SpaceX says that they can launch while the government is shut down. I have a suspicion that they would prefer not to. Because NASA can't really help them with a lot. And considering this is a NASA mission, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
So they're going to proceed, and they will eventually launch if the government is shut down, but it would probably go faster, and there'd be less delays if the government was open. So that's sort of it on DM1. It is preparing for launch. Look for launch probably sometime in February. And actually, ironically, big news in that time frame because they should also be hopping the Starship hopper at some point around then too. Mid to late February or early March. All right. So the next one is... We only have 2 pictures for this, but there's a lot to talk about. This one's about 3 weeks old, but it is very, very important. On New Year's Eve, very, very late on New Year's Eve, almost New Year's Day, New Horizons flew past Ultima Thule, also known as 2014 MU-69.
Rolls off the tongue, that one.
Yeah, there's a reason they used Ultima Thule. Anyway, although a lot of people don't like that one either. It will get a proper name at a later point. But as you can see, the object is pretty damn interesting. This is a Kuiper Belt object. It is way out. So the Kuiper Belt is well beyond Pluto. Although technically Pluto is believed to be a Kuiper Belt object, it really starts past Pluto.
Excuse me. Pluto's a planet.
Yes, it is. So
End of discussion.
Ultima Thule is like 6.5 billion kilometers away. And we flew by it and took pictures of it. And it's not very big, so it's pretty impressive to even be able to get pictures of it.
That's about as far as one Honda Civic will drive, right?
Yeah, if it's stoned on nitrous. I mean, I guess you could send one out there to party with Elon's Tesla, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they hang out with different crowds.
oh, really? Okay. So the really interesting thing about Ultima Thule is that this is what the Kuiper Belt are the remnants of the formation of the solar system, right? These are the bits and pieces that were left over that didn't get to be part of bigger planets.
They were picked last in the cosmic game of soccer.
Yeah. So they haven't seen a lot of collisions. Oh boy, that's great, Des. They haven't seen a lot of collisions, and you'll notice that. So this is what this structure is it's called a contact binary. They've actually decided to call the big part Ultima and the little part Thule. And
Too late.
basically what what happened here was there was two bodies that were basically orbiting quite close to each other, and they collided at a speed of about like 1 mile per hour, maybe 2 kilometers an hour. So they just kind of bumped into each other and are very loosely held together. They believe like all of that like brighter material like between them there was actually just drawn there by gravity and sort of filled in the space a bit. So there's a very like weak bridge between the two of them. That's awesome, Sid. No, that'd be really freaky if they like sampled it later and they're like, "Hey, this is steel."
I kind of like Mr. Squarepeg's borp. It went borp.
Yeah, it went borp.
Yep. I agree.
But yeah, they're fascinated by this thing. They've never really seen anything like it. 67. Oh my god, I don't know. Yeah, the Comet 67P. It was kind of similar, but it had been it had gone through several cycles of coming into the inner solar system and had been blasted by the sun repeatedly, so its shape had been changed quite a bit. This is a very primitive object. It hasn't been hit very much. It's probably quite similar to how it was, billions of years ago.
It is.
It's pretty cool.
It is kind of interesting to note that of the like two that we've gone and taken a look at, they were both contact binaries.
Well, far out. It was a comet, so it was quite close. But probably originated in a similar spot. So yeah, I mean that's probably a fairly common formation. Interestingly, one of the missions that's coming up in the early 2020s called DART is actually an asteroid redirect mission where they're going to try and smash into an asteroid and push it. It's funny. It's like a joint NASA and ESA mission, and NASA's job is literally just to hit it really hard, and then ESA is going to go there and see what happened.
Okay.
And,
okay.
but interestingly, it's actually an asteroid with a moon, but they're also really close together, so it's almost like a similar situation. But the little moon hasn't like got sucked into the asteroid yet.
Are they going to hit the asteroid or the moon?
The moon.
Okay.
The little tiny guy who's sitting beside the asteroid.
Are they going to try and hit the moon into the asteroid to see if it creates a contact binary?
No, they're going to try and hit it further away because they know the distance between the two of them, and then they can measure how much further it goes away from it.
That's less fun.
I think hitting space rocks with...
I want cosmic bumper
rockets.
cars.
Oh, fair enough. We'll put you in charge of the mission then.
Excellent. Next mission.
David's
the
got an
moon
idea.
too, to see if it's really made of cheese.
I'd be up for that.
I would make the
What type of-
greatest scientist ever.
What type of cheese would it be if it was cheese?
Parmesan.
Oh, okay.
Because when you crack it, it sort of just falls in half. It's
Oh, okay.
very hard.
Interesting. So this is pretty cool. This is a simulation of the flyby that they did of Ultima Thule. You can actually see at which points what cameras are taking pictures. And on the right, you can see sort of how big the object would have been in the field of view. So because the data rates are not exactly good between here and Ultima Thule, it's taking New Horizons quite a long time to get down the data. They believe it'll take about 20 months to get all of the data from the flyby. And we don't have the best pictures yet, even. High-resolution pictures are not expected until next month. So we should be getting some better images in, hopefully, I don't know, a couple weeks.
That's cool.
Yeah, so you get an even better look at the Peanut or the Snowman or BB-8 or whatever other people have come up with to call it. It does kind of look like BB-8.
So this last one happened, like, this weekend, right?
Yes, it did.
And it's pretty cool.
So that was this is a picture from John Krause, who's my favorite space photographer, of the lunar eclipse this weekend. We had a blood moon. The moon turned red. So this was a cool lunar eclipse, and there were tons of pictures, and some people made memes about how many pictures there were and all sorts of things. And then it got really interesting because a few people went, I thought I saw something during that. And so then you have our next picture. Look at that. It was actually discovered after going through the tapes that we actually saw 2 meteors hit the moon during the eclipse. They're obviously much easier to see because the part of the moon that was facing us was dark. And all of us were looking at it.
Yep. The whole world is like, ooh, let's look at the... Oh, wait. Did everyone see that? Did you see that? Yes, I did. Oh, maybe we should compare. Oh, look at that.
So you can see the
I'm
the impact
approximating
there.
a worldwide, scientific effort to find,
Exactly. As you can see in the bottom left there, that's where you can see the little impact there that was happening. And if you go to the next image, that is a zoom in of the impact. You can see it's like spraying stuff off the surface.
I hate to break it to, all the scientists out there, but it's actually just an alien sat on the moon turning a flashlight on and pointing it at the Earth.
Sure, we better go help him out then. Maybe he wants beer.
I know I do.
So one of the things I was kind of confused by was this morning, people are like, hey, we spotted a meteor hit the moon. And I looked at a bunch of videos, and I noticed after a little while, they were in different spots on the moon. And people were just talking about one impact, and I'm like, those aren't the same place. And then somebody went, there were 2. Because you'll notice this one's not in the same place. There were 2 meteors that we saw during the lunar eclipse that hit the surface of the moon. And you can see that one's up in the top left. And I think that's pretty freaking cool. Also, it goes to show you how nice it is to have an atmosphere.
And- yeah. It also goes to show you, like, you have to think, if there were two in the couple of minutes that we were all watching it during the, like,
Right.
it's got to get hit a lot. Like, that thing is taking a serious beating for us. And all we ever do is make fun of it and call it cheese. We're bastards.
Parmesan cheese, even.
I mean, at least I'm calling it a good kind of cheese.
That's fair.
I'm not insulting it by calling it like a mild cheddar or something. Wow.
Oh man. But yeah, it kind of goes to show you how often things get hit up there. Actually, Mars gets hit a lot too. That's one of the. It is definitely a possible concern in the future for people living there, getting hit by stuff. But yeah, so it kind of goes to show you how much like we get protected by our atmosphere. All of these rocks that are smashing into the moon, they hit the Earth and they just burn up in the atmosphere and they don't even touch the ground. So yeah.
So
Bonus.
Mr. Squarepeg has a question there. Did you hear that Mars moon Phobos is slowly falling apart due to stress?
I did. That doesn't surprise me. It's not in a very stable orbit, and it's very close to Mars, which is probably not very healthy for it. Like our moon is 400,000 kilometers away, and I think Phobos is something like 16,000 kilometers from Mars. I could be wrong on that. That was just pulled out of my brain somewhere. No, it's even less. It's 9,300 kilometers from Mars. It's not. I think it's. I think I read
that's
that
like
it's
a minor road trip.
Yeah. I think I read that it was like almost as big in the sky as our moon is, and it's like this tiny little rock.
Yeah.
It's very, very close, and it's only 17 miles long. Yeah, so it's likely that it'll
That's
eventually
an even shorter road trip.
That's not of it. That's like a commute.
Yeah.
Oh, how far do you drive to work every day? Oh, about a Phobos.
Wait, like 2 Phobos? No, just the length of it. Oh, okay.
So,
Really?
I
Come
guess-
for the.
I don't know why you
I
come
don't know
for.
why.
Actually, that's a good question. We had bad problems with our audio visual quality on the weekend. How are we doing today?
I don't think you cut out much today.
Good.
So, well, not good because I didn't do anything. I didn't change anything. Which means I have no way of diagnosing a problem that doesn't.
Oh, Rogers.
If the problem isn't repeatable, I can't diagnose it, which means, you know.
So do we have any more questions?
No, that was it. That was all the now my can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's weird. It was giving me weird things there. No, we've had all the questions there.
Okay.
And no one's asked us anything more in chat. And
Well, I'm gonna ramble on for like another 10 minutes because we started late.
yeah, sure.
Sound
I
good?
mean, it's past my bedtime now, but I mean,
No,
by all means, ramble away.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. My new wake up time of 5:30 in the morning demands
some attention.
it demands going to bed so early.
Yeah.
I'm so tired.
So, one of the things that sort of happened that's starting to come up here is there's a lot of stuff coming in 2019 in space, but 2020 has an interesting. There are 4 Mars missions next year. 5 if you account for one satellite that's going to ride along with a different satellite. 2020 is another Mars window. So we have a whole bunch of missions, and they're starting to get some more news about them. The Mars 2020 rover just got its nuclear power supply delivered to it.
Nice.
So that's awesome. Those things are amazing. That RTG will be able to supply it with power for years and years and years. RTG, by the way, is radio thermoelectric generator. Super cool.
Wouldn't that be RTEG?
Sure.
Radio thermal. I guess thermoelectric is one. Okay, fine.
Yeah, thermoelectric's one word.
Fine.
They're still trying to find a name for the ExoMars rover. The ESA's rover. They apparently didn't want to call it ExoMars, so they're searching for a more
what does
friendly
it do?
name.
Quick. We can name it right now.
What does it do? It drills.
Yeah, it drills. Drillbot 3000. The driller. The big D.
Drilling McDrillbot?
Yeah.
Holy? Drilly boy. I like that one. Starry likes the Vantool driller. If there's a vote for that, we need to vote. It's like brigade the vote like crazy.
Desmarius gets it.
Giving Mars the D.
Call it
Nice.
the big D, the big drill. And then you give Mars the big...
If you really want to call back in popular culture to the 90s, you could call it Harry Stamper.
I must not have been awake during the 90s.
Bruce
Wow,
Willis's
that's a lot.
character in Armageddon when they go to drill. Yes. The best oil driller in the world.
Send him...
Oh, man.
I like that was an occupational category. He's the best oil driller.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yep.
So,
As long as it is a Ben Affleck's character. Nice, Daz.
um,
Oh, man.
yeah,
Yeah?
science.
That's a great one. Great way to end things. Yeah, science.
No. In
Man.
seriousness, science. It does cool things and is important. So, do what you can to make sure people listen to it and support it and pay scientists more because
Yeah, no doubt. Let them go back to work.
yeah,
That would be
go back
nice.
to work too. No, I am going to maintain my ever-present argument that people that go to space should be paid more than, well,
People who don't go to space.
yeah, basically anyone that has nothing to do with going to space. If you're not involved in putting rockets in space,
Astronauts actually don't. I mean, they get paid a fair amount, but not like an insane amount.
not as much as
which-
they should, considering
No.
they're going to space
I agree.
on
I
flimsy
agree.
40-year-old Russian rockets with holes drilled into them by a small D.
I love that they actually found that after they got up there.
Yeah,
Like, oh, well, it survived getting up here anyway.
good enough. Okay, since we are now clearly rambling, and since it's past my bedtime,
Bye, everybody.
gonna wish everyone a happy Eve, and
a happy Eve.
it's the eve of something. I'm sure we're on the eve of tomorrow. It's tomorrow's eve today.
It is tomorrow's Eve, kind of. Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah.
So good night, everyone, and Yeah, it was
Bye,
short,
everybody.
but it was good to get some of the space news out so that next time we can just jump right in to
To like 2 hours of Apollo.
2 hours of Apollo. Yes. So join us again Saturday. Join us for that. And I think next month there's going to be other stuff. We got stuff coming. We got shows, you know.
Next Tuesday you should have Apollo ready. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we're doing
Part of the
Apollo Tuesday,
part of the problem here
Kingdom Hearts
was-
Monday.
I forgot that we had decided to split Apollo into 3 shows, but then we decided we didn't want to do that anymore. So I'm trying to push it back into 1 show for it to
Yes.
finish off. So yeah. Anyway,
There's so much for Apollo. So
Yeah.
Sid Vicious.
did you know that Apollo happened?
It did. Sid Vicious has the last question. It's important. I do think we should get to this one. The question is, how big is space? And the answer, of course, is